This segment of the Alice Stewart Show is brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all your household or business plumbing needs, call Aero Plumbing at 1-866-PLUMBER or schedule an appointment online at aeroplumbing.net.
Welcome back to the last half hour of the Alice Stewart Show, 7:35, 25 minutes before 8 o'clock. And the Young Guns segment, my favorite of the week, where we get two young guns and talk about the news of the day from the younger perspective. Joining me this morning, Josh Blevins, former Young Democrats of Arkansas president and Blevins Investment Group chairman, and Jack Avery, Young Republicans of Arkansas chairman and key account manager at Rich Products Corporation. Jack and Josh, great to have you here.
Good morning.
Thank you both. And it's been a long night for a lot of folks in New York City and really across the country in light of news that came down late yesterday where a non-indictment was handed down in a very controversial police case in which Eric Garner, 43-year-old man, was confronted by police officers back in July for suspicion of selling loose cigarettes. Police officers approached him. One put him in a chokehold. He ended up dying, and it was all captured on video. And the grand jury came back with a non-indictment of this police officer. And this was a shock to many folks, especially after the Ferguson case where a police officer was not indicted in the death of unarmed black teenager Michael Brown. And it caused a lot of protests across New York City where this chokehold incident happened in the country. I want to get your thoughts on that first off. Josh, your thoughts on this non-indictment here.
You know, I'm really surprised. I watched the video of the chokehold that Eric Garner was placed in when he was placed under arrest way back in July. And, you know, I'm really surprised. You know, the role of a grand jury is not to determine if somebody is guilty or is not guilty of a crime. It's simply to, to figure out if there is a preponderance of evidence that says, hey, you know, we think we should bring charges and have a trial to determine whether or not, you know, somebody is guilty. And I'm surprised. You know, the medical examiner said that Eric Garner's death was caused by a chokehold and chest compression, and ruled the death a homicide. We can't simply have people that end up dead because they're arrested on suspicion of selling untaxed cigarettes. You know, Mr. Garner, it's clear from the video, did not put up a significant fight. He said, listen, I can't breathe, which I think is a reasonable response from somebody who is in the process of being killed. I think any American would agree with that.
Jack, your thoughts?
You know, I'd first like to say that I feel terrible for the Garner family, and like Josh, I agree that this situation never should have escalated to the point that it got to, and it's unfortunate that it did. And I've watched the video, and I've read a lot about this case yesterday, and there certainly are some troubling things about what is seen in that video. I think the bottom line for me is it doesn't matter what state you live in, and what the merit of the arrest charge may be. Once a police officer puts you under arrest, it is illegal to resist this arrest, and that is what caused the escalation of the situation with Mr. Garner in New York City, and it's unfortunate how it turned out.
It's not over yet. The President and Attorney General Eric Holder have been monitoring this, as well as the Ferguson case. President Obama weighed in on this non-indictment yesterday and indicating that the Justice Department will now look into this and other incidents. Here is President Obama.
We are not going to let up until we see a strengthening of the trust and a strengthening of the accountability that exists between our communities and our law enforcement.
And in addition to that, Eric Holder, the Attorney General, has said that they will conduct a full federal investigation into this chokehold death.
As the Justice Department's independent investigations into the deaths of Michael Brown and Eric Garner proceed, I will continue these conversations as we seek to restore trust, to rebuild understanding and to foster cooperation between law enforcement and the communities they serve.
Now, is this the way to go, Jack?
Well, I actually my surprise to people. I agree with President Obama's words in that the community and the policing agency that is responsible for protecting that community needs to be a harmonious relationship. They need to be working together. They can't exist without each other, and it's a whole heck of a lot better than not having any policing units out on the street. What's something that's really interesting to me is even though the grand jury decided to not indict this police officer, the prosecuting attorney does not have to operate on the recommendation of the grand jury. He can still continue to prosecute if he so chooses. So in this situation, he is actually taking the recommendation of the grand jury to not indict. So the prosecutor must feel like there's not enough evidence to prosecute this police officer in addition to what the grand jury found.
It's hard to imagine after looking at that video. Josh, your thoughts on the Justice Department conducting their investigation?
I think it makes sense. I mean, that's what the Justice Department, that's why they conduct these sorts of investigations, is to serve as a check on local authorities. It's a shame that this ended up the way that it did, and there are policies that the New York Police Department has to prevent this sort of stuff from happening. It has been illegal to place somebody who is under arrest in a chokehold since before the police officer who conducted that chokehold, and since before Jack and I were born. And if there is no penalty for violent policies that are designed to keep folks that the police are interacting with alive, then what is the point in having those policies in the first place? Police officers have an incredibly difficult job, and there are policies in place to keep them safe and to keep the people that they interact with safe as well.
And I
want to correct something real quick. Josh, you said that a chokehold is illegal. It's not actually illegal. It's not taught because it is considered lethal force. It's not taught in the state of Arkansas. I've talked to some police trainers, and I've watching the news last night. It's just not a taught process because it is considered lethal force. But that doesn't mean that it is an illegal use, particularly if your safety is threatened, which must be something that was mentioned during this process with the grand jury.
You're right that it's not illegal, but it is against the written policy of the New York Police Department and other departments around the country.
And I think that is a key distinction in this, in that as you both say and agree, it was an actual legal takedown move. However, it was in violation of NYPD guidelines, and the NYPD came out quickly yesterday and made that clarification on that. However, it's hard to imagine, regardless of whether it's legal or not or banned or not, when you look at that video, you cannot help but think that was excessive force. And hearing Mr. Garner say repeatedly that he could not breathe, it's really gut-wrenching to see that. But we will hopefully, as we did in the Ferguson case, get more information on this and find out exactly when it went into the grand jury's making that decision. We're going to take a break. We'll come back with Josh Blevins and Jack Avery after this break here on the Alice Stewart Show. This segment of the program brought to you by Aero Plumbing. For all of your household or business plumbing needs, give them a call, 501-588-3200, or go online at aeroplumbing.net.